Hello and a really big warm welcome to this presentation from the Urban Penguin. My name is Andrew Mallett, and in today's video we're going to go through and take a look at the command grep and the command sed at our Linux command line. With these tools we can put them or implement them within our bash shell script and ensure that we can go through and retrieve information from a website. So we're going to be seeing how you can go through and implement web scraping, where we can pull information programmatically from a website without having to do it with a web browser. So go on, let's see if we can find that command line and get this up and running. And yes, we're about to dive out to our command line to see how we can web scrape websites using our tools sed and awk. But do be a good web citizen. So make use of your own personal website or a site that you have permission to use. In the demonstration, we are using the Try Hack Me site, so we are allowed to use this site. And here we are. Look at this on our glorious Raspberry Pi. I might be using a Raspberry Pi, but the tools that we're going to look at are pretty much standard in any Linux distribution. So we're going to be using curl, we're going to be using grep, and we're going to be using sed. You may have to install them, but pretty much they are basic tools, so they should be there in your Linux distribution. As we go through, we're going to be taking a look at how we can access our website with curl. So we can go through and put in then our curl, our web address. And this one, as I said in the intro, we're running through and using the website tryhackme.com. And I think we can guess from that website that we are allowed to access it. Now, as we access it, we're seeing then the raw web data, the unrendered HTML. We're not using a browser, we're just using a very raw tool, curl. So this is really good because we're able then to see the tags, and whether or not the tags are going to be rendered in the browser or not, we're going to be able to remove them and look at them in our script. So how are we going to do that? Well, let's go through and take a look. The first thing is to go through and just use curl -s, so we can silence any of its output. We don't really need to work with curl, we just need to retrieve its data, and we can retrieve that with our good friend grep. So with grep we can go through and search for the output of curl, and we can go through and search and make sure that we're seeing the right data. So with grep I'm going to implement a -o, so we're only showing the matched data, not the complete line. As we go through, we can add in our quotes, looking for the string that we are searching for. And this is where we can then go through and put in our tags. So let's first of all go through and look for the title tag. So we're looking then for title and our opening and closing tags. And it gets a little bit confusing when we look at the next data that we're putting in. We're putting our square brackets, so we're looking for a character, but we begin with the uppercase 6 or caret symbol. With this, we're specifying it is not a character. And we're going to say it's not the closing tag. So we want to be looking at everything between title that isn't a closing tag. And the way we say any amount of characters, we just use the asterisk. So we're saying any amount of characters that are not the closing tag. We then, to make sure that we've got our tagged information, say that we're looking then for the closing tag. And we can then go through and end our quote, execute our command, and we can see, look, we have got a glorious title, but of course the title includes the tags, the opening and closing tag. Now, if we're looking at scripting this, we probably want just the raw data. So don't show me the tags. We know we are searching for title, so we don't need to be shown that. So we're going to pipe the output of curl through to our even better friend sed. Sed is a little bit like grep, but grep can only search for data. But by using sed, we can substitute data. So this is our substitute string. This is the text that we are searching for, and we want to search then for the tagged data. So we can go through and specify that we're looking for an opening tag and all data that is not the closing tag. The same way as we set this up before, until we get to our closing tag. So we want everything between the opening diamond bracket and the closing diamond bracket. The first / and second / encompasses the text that we are searching for within our substitution. So we put in then our second / to identify this is the text that we're looking for. The replacement text is included then between the second and third / Here we're just putting an empty string. So we're really deleting everything that's in our tags. So we'll have the data between the tags, but we won't have the tags itself. Now, of course, we have more than one tag per line, so we're using G to do this globally. And look at that, then we're back with Try Hack Me, cybersecurity training, and we no longer have our tags. So look at this, it's looking pretty good, and we're ready to implement this within our script. But just one thing before we do this, we could also be looking for other tags. Now here it's quite easy to go through and change the tags. We just have to go through and look for our grep search and replace the tags in our grep search. So when we look for our heading 1, we're going to be able to see, have we got any H1 tags, which we don't. Well, let's up arrow key. I happen to know they have some heading 2 tags. So let's go through and put H2 and H2. We don't need to touch the sed command. It's only the grep command that we need to manipulate. And we can see here that we've got used by and media as H2 tags. So now we are really ready to implement this in our script. But don't forget, if you are enjoying this video, then do hit the like button. Hitting the like button is going to help you become a good web citizen and share this with other people who might also like it. So let's open up then a new script. I'm just calling it myscrape.sh. You could use Nano, you could use Vim, or you could use your own graphical editors. It doesn't really matter. But we know we're going to begin with our shebang, the path through to our interpreter. Next up, we're going to go through and put in a URL variable. So we can just quickly change to the URL if we want to go to another website. We could also prompt for input, or we could pass it through as an argument, like $1. Next up, we can go through and retrieve our web content. Let's put this into a variable. Might be a good idea to call it HTML content as well. You never know. And then we can go through and have the output of the curl command -s, and then navigating through to our URL. Close off our parentheses so we evaluate the command inside the parentheses, our round brackets. We can set up another variable. This is really looking at our first step where we're extracting the data that we are looking for from our HTML content. So here we can go through and call it extracted data, and it's going to be the output of our grep command. So we can again open up our substitution brackets, and then using the echo command, we can send the content of our HTML content variable through to our pipe symbol and grep. The same grep command before, so grep -o, so only showing us the actual matched data. And this is where we want to look at data between our opening and closing tag. So it's not difficult. Let's open up our quotes to put in our regular expression string. And we want to then look for the title. Our next bit, of course, is a little bit weird, but we're putting in the character we want to search for, but we're negating that character using the uppercase 6 or the caret symbol. So we're looking for everything between our title that isn't opening up of another tag, because we are then searching for the closing title tag. So our match is going to be on everything between the opening and closing title tag. So that's our extracted data. The next step, of course, is to use sed, and we can call this maybe our cleaned data. The names of the variable are down to you, but we're going to open up our substitution brackets again. This time, make sure that we are echoing out the contents of our extracted data, the data that grep gave us, so after grep has processed it, and pipe it through to sed. Again, with sed, we're going to open up our regular expression string with a single quote, using S for our substitution command, and then the first / denotes then the characters that we are searching for. And we're searching then for everything between the opening and closing tag. So again, we're negating the closing tag and saying all characters between the opening and then our closing tag. So slightly different. So make sure we're getting the arrow directions correct here. We then close our search string and put another / with no text in it. This is then saying that we want to delete our tagged data, removes the tags. We do this globally because we have the opening and closing tag. Finally, we can then go through and echo out our cleaned data variable, and that's our script ready to go. Unless, of course, we've made some typos, but the best way to find out if we've got typos or not is to go through and execute the script. So as I go through and save it, I can then go through and run bash and myscrape.sh, and you can see that we've got, well, problems on line 5 and 7. And when we go through and take a look, well, I've forgotten to put the closing parentheses at the end of my extracted data and cleaned data command substitutions. So we can jump to the end of the line and add in then the closing parentheses and do the same thing for the line above. Hoping they're the only mistakes, but it's worth including the mistakes because nobody's going to be perfect. But we can see now that our script is extracting the data that we need. We've got the try-hack-me, the cybersecurity training, and we've removed the HTML tags.
All that is left to say is thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed this, then you are probably sadder than I first thought. For more of this drivel, please subscribe, like and comment to @TheUrbanPenguin.